Welcome to Let's Talk Wildcats. As always, my name is Corey Edwards.
I'm Cadence Bryant.
I'm Madison.
I'm Caitlin Williams.
And I'm Holly Friedman.
This is our special guest today. As you can see, we just wanted to get a teacher's perspective on everything this year. So we decided to bring Miss Friedman on. She was one of the many teachers who kind of reached out to us regarding the loss of one of our students in North Little Rock. So we just thought she would be a great person to have on the show. And
Yeah.
okay.
So we have a couple questions for Miss Friedman. Miss Friedman, how was this year for you? Like, how was it teaching virtual? And I don't know if you taught classes here, but how was it for you?
Well, this year was a completely different beast. I've taught sophomore English here for 8 years. And this year, in addition to my sophomore English class, I also taught personal communications. And obviously on top of that, we offered virtual classes, and I happened to get all virtual classes this year. I didn't have any face-to-face classes. So last spring when we went into quarantine, we all had to turn on a dime to embrace our virtual classes. But that's what teachers do. We monitor and adjust. But overall, I would say it's been a difficult but good year.
Yeah. Well, like, I know it's probably, like, affected, like, your mental health. So, like, mentally, how are you?
Mentally, I am exhausted. There's this thing that's called end of the year teacher tired, and it has arrived. You'll see lots of memes like on Facebook and TikTok and things where they have like this happy polished teacher at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year they're disheveled and they're just barely crawling to the finish line. So I think we're here. We're dragging to the finish line, but so I'm mentally exhausted.
Yeah, me too.
Get up out of here.
Right.
Yeah. What is one thing that you wish your students knew about not just you, but like all teachers this year? Because I know teachers communicate. So what's one thing that you wish we knew from teachers?
As far as one thing that I wish you guys and all the students knew about teachers is that we're human. We're human too. We're human beings, and we do our best to provide our students with a rigorous curriculum that takes into consideration the unique needs of virtual learning this year and educating students during the unprecedented pandemic that we're experiencing. But for me, at least, I want my students to know that I'm offering them my best self every day. Yeah. But some days my best self might be awesome, but some days my best self is mediocre at best. But I think students would also say the same thing. We've got ups and downs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We all experienced like a drag.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I want to ask you, how was teaching virtual this year? Because you never taught it, so I know that had to be very different for you.
Right. Overall, I loved it. There was definitely a learning curve at the beginning, but I embraced the virtual world and made the best of it. The pros were being able to go paperless, which I'm like, I didn't use any paper. I used hardly any paper this year.
Yeah.
Because Google Classroom made assignment organization a lot better, and it really helped me with my grading too, the grading process. Everything's right there in my to-do list, and I just... So I plan to use those functions going forward in the future years. The main con, I would say, is that a lot of my virtual students didn't like to turn their cameras on and didn't like to talk in, the class discussions. So a lot of times I just felt like I was talking to the black boxes or profile pictures, and I just wanted to say, hello, is there anybody? Is there anybody there? Hello.
So you're saying it's harder for students to be engaged?
Yes. Yes. And sometimes, they'll turn the camera on so it's showing as they're, in class, but they might just be showing their ceiling fan. And when you call their name 3 times and they don't answer, you're like, wonder what they're doing. So, and then, with the students not engaging as much, it can feel really isolating, especially since I only have virtual students. I don't have any face-to-face, and so a lot of times I just feel like I'm talking to
Yourself.
myself all day.
Okay.
And sometimes I act silly because I'm just like, I don't know if anybody's watching or listening. So maybe if I can get a laugh out of my students, I'll see who's paying attention.
Coming from us, it's harder too. Being virtual, I've been face to face all year, but we've had times where we went virtual, especially for a week or days at a time, and
Y'all
it's been
went crazy. Y'all
That
did
was
not know
like-
what to do.
it was so
hard.
hard because it's just like I'm so used to being surrounded by not even just my friends, but my classmates, my
Right.
peers,
Yes.
and I'm at home, I'm by myself, so I don't want to engage.
Yeah, I
because-
feel like, I'm sorry I interrupted.
it's okay. Go ahead.
That virtual students must feel that sense of isolation
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
It gets
Very
like
isolated.
lonely.
It
Yeah.
really
And
was.
then, cause we're like a very social generation, so it's
Right.
just
Yeah,
like
we
We
are.
don't really know how to be alone or by ourselves and just
Yeah.
like locked up in our room.
Yeah.
So it was very weird
Yeah.
to be at home, but I mean, being online or whatever and being with the teachers, like you guys kind of made it feel a little bit more homey. I know you were talking to us, asking us how our day was, and you just made it feel more welcoming
Oh,
for
thank
us
you.
to be on there. So I'm really thankful towards you for just making my virtual experience better. So.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind.
I have another question for you.
Okay.
So considering your curriculum, I know you said you teach sophomore English and personal comm. Considering your curriculum and everything like that, and being at home, you can't monitor students as you would normally in face-to-face
Right.
classes, so you don't know if they're cheating or anything like that. How do you think this year teaching virtual has made it harder for you students? Like, has the coursework became harder to prevent cheating, things like that? Like,
No, actually, I would say it's been the opposite. As far as cheating goes, I can't monitor that. So some things students have open notes. They can, since I can't monitor things like cheating, I just have to monitor and adjust is what teachers do, and so. I just hope for the best.
right.
I know a lot of teachers kind of like, relaxed on us when it came down to virtual and doing that type of stuff. Because, like, sometimes you might not remember things or whatever. And if you were really paying attention in class, you would have wrote down notes. So if you use your own notes, and if you don't write down notes, that's on you.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of teachers are like, okay, you guys can use your notes, but if you don't have your notes, then that's on you. Basically.
Right.
So.
Right. So I think that even though we're in a pandemic, I was able to provide a quality education, taking into consideration the factors that we talked about. Although my pre-AP students might disagree, I would want them to remember that, it is a pre-AP class that they're in.
Yeah.
And regardless of the way that we're providing instruction and the work that we're doing, it's going to be more rigorous than their freshman English class.
Yeah.
And so it's, in the greater scheme of things, I feel like, I didn't make it harder. I really tried to give my students grace in doing their assignments and getting assignments in on time, and still having the rigor that's required in my pre-AP courses, but giving a little grace this year.
Is there anything you wish you knew about us? We're kind of a voice for all of us because we all kind of feel the same way about this year,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to school. Is there anything that you wish you knew about us? our
Well,
team?
tell me how you felt about this year.
Um,
One at a
We all have,
time.
like the same opinion.
I think
It
we
was
all
like
feel
an
the
emotional
teachers
roller
and-
coaster.
Yeah.
yeah,
really
for
was.
sure.
Uh-huh.
Trying to balance
Very
school
overwhelming.
is so much. Ninth grade was easy, but we didn't have a
we
normal
didn't even
freshman
get
year
to
because we
finish
got out
it.
early and we had
Right,
virtual.
right.
And then we came back, and that was an adjustment coming back and seeing everybody after not seeing everybody for months, being by yourself for months, going through so many changes for months. And now that I'm at school and I have so much work, and it's like I'm dragging to do it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
honestly.
man,
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I don't want to
gosh,
do this,
yes.
but I have to do it if I want to get good grades
Right.
and have everything done and not have to
Yeah.
worry on it.
Like you have to push through the whole year,
Yeah.
Right.
basically.
Do you feel like your grades have been affected because of this year's?
heavily,
I think
heavily.
So, yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
my
Especially
gosh.
being like, I know me, if I'm not taking a pre-AP class, it's an AP class, and if it's not an AP class, it's an elective that's hard that requires me to be there 110%. So it's very hard when it it comes to my grades, and I care a lot, but at the same time,
It's like,
sometimes I'm
how
just
can
like,
I do
you just
this?
have
It's
to-
like,
right. Sometimes I disassociate from what I'm doing, and I don't.
Right.
I don't yeah.
it gets a lot on your
It
mind.
gets draining.
Yeah.
Right.
really
Has it been
does.
overwhelming?
Yeah.
Very.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. But I try not to like stress myself out. Even though if
Right.
I'm stressing, I try not to be in that space, and I try to do something else that will probably like distract me from feeling
Yeah.
stressed. But I mean, it's been a lot.
As soon as I
Yeah.
look at the work, I'm like,
I'm
stress.
just like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
even want to do this.
Right.
And again, part of that is because when I'm in class, I'm disassociating. I'm not.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not 100% engaged all the time, and so when I see a lesson, I'm looking at it, and I might remember it, and I remember enough to do the worksheet or whatever assignment I have to do, but I'm not going to remember it long term. And I think that's the point. That's why we come to school, so we
Right.
can retain this information for a long time. But sometimes I just remember enough to get it done.
Yes. Well,
Right.
that's important. That's the first step.
Right.
I have a question for Madison and Breasia. I know that you switched from virtual to face. How was that change for you? And I don't know if y'all made that same switch or what differences did you see?
Well, coming back, I know I felt a lot of anxiety coming back to like a lot of people that I haven't seen, but like once I got in here, like it kind of like cooled down a little bit, and I kind of started getting back into the routine. You know, I was going the wrong places on the first day. It was like I was in this
Oh, I'm
school.
sure. I'm
So,
sure.
it was a little bit nerve wracking. I mean, you can obviously see the difference from virtual and being in here. Like it's very tiring coming to school every day, waking up and getting dressed, having to worry about what you look like, all of this, getting stuff in.
Right.
It was a lot, but you know, it's kind of easier being in school than being virtual because you won't get as distracted easy or whatever. But I mean, both of them were challenging. What about you, Katie?
Virtual, it's still draining. It's just waking up and then it's assignment after assignment. Like you miss one class, then you go to the next day and you got more work piling on top of that work, and then you just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And that's when the grades start to
Yeah, then that's when the grades start to drop,
Right.
especially
Exactly
when you
what
got
happens.
deadlines
Yeah.
and you don't meet them, and then some teachers, they won't let you like turn it in still, or they'll take like points off, which
Right.
I understand.
Well, it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and
Yes.
honestly, I've never had you, so I don't know what your teaching style is like. But I know I have friends who have had you, and they've told me how inspiring you were. And this goes out to any teacher watching this. If you care about your students genuinely, if you take the time to listen to your students' problems, and to adjust around a specific student's problems, especially coming to like coursework and things like that, if you take the time out of your day to do that, honestly, you're the best teacher in the world to me.
And we appreciate it.
We
really
appreciate all
of
of our teachers at North Little Rock.
Literally.
You guys have been doing a pretty amazing job.
The staff too.
Yeah,
Right.
the staff has been doing a great
Adjustment
job
this year.
just making all this happen. Honestly, it's been a rough year for everybody, so we know that everybody's probably drained. So we
Yeah.
can't really blame
Yes.
anybody for what's been going on and how things have been going. So all I know is that we just want to thank everybody here
Right.
and just, you know.
So thank you, Ms. Friedman. Thank you to
Thank
all of our
you.
teachers.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot.
I'm glad it does. Without, that's all.
that's
So, thank you for coming to Let's Talk Wildcats. Please follow us on our social media at NLR Let's Talk Wildcats.
Yes.
Well, thank you for having me.
No problem. Always.